Afternoon, and thank you for joining us. My name is Courtney Banker, and I'm a project coordinator with the Housing Department and Austin Housing Finance Corporation. Today's 30-minute interview will include 4 questions, one from each of our panelists. We have allocated approximately 7 minutes to each question. The interviews will be recorded and shared online as part of the public evaluation process. The interviews are worth a total of 20 points, and applicant scores will be released on Friday, May 19th. We will now begin the interview. So question 1, we can, Nefertiti, if you want to unmute yourself and introduce the question.
Okay. Hello. The first question is, what is your organization's capacity to develop, deliver, and operate this development?
Great. Thank you. This is Janine Sisak from DMA Development Company, Senior Vice President and General Counsel. Also joining me today is Joellen Smith, Executive Vice President of DMA Development Company. So DMA Development Company has been in existence for more than 20 years, but several of our affiliates, which you all are familiar with, have been in existence for over 40 years. We have developed, own, and operate more than 3,000 units under our own portfolio, but through some of our affiliates, we've consulted on more than 10,000 units of affordable housing across the country over our 40-year history. So this is what we do. You know, we are multifamily developers that specialize in the LIHTC program. We have worked with AHFC in partnership on similar workforce developments and senior developments in town, most notably Aldridge 51, 240 units up at Miller, and the Nightingale at Goodnight Ranch, 174 units of senior. We're partnering with AHFC on both of those, and again, have been really active in the LIHTC program. As I mentioned, we've developed more than 3,000 units, of which 1,300 are in the Austin area. So, you know, we're very familiar with the development landscape in the city of Austin. We are very well versed in all of the codes and rules and regulations, not only from a planning and development standpoint, but also, you know, for programs that your department administers, like the GeoBond funding, smart housing, other entitlement programs. So, you know, we're very, very experienced, not only in the affordable housing industry, but in Austin in particular. The staff at DMA is very stable. Joellen Smith has been with our firm for 25 years. I've been with our firm for 21 years. So we don't experience a lot of the turnover that happens in a lot of similar organizations in the affordable housing industry. I think that's one of our greatest strengths. Joellen and I are involved in every single project that DMA does, from, you know, inception to operations. We self-manage through our affiliate DMA Properties. Again, Nightingale at Goodnight Ranch is a property that we manage, own, that's very close to this development site. So this site made a lot of sense for us in terms of having another development right down the street. And so we envision some good economies of scale, and really want to leverage the existing relationships that we've built in the Goodnight Ranch community to benefit the residents of this development if we're chosen. Another one of our strengths is we really deliver what we promise. We're good partners. We don't overpromise and underdeliver. In fact, the opposite. You know, we really try to be conservative in our approach at the beginning of development. We never propose anything that we know that we can't pull off, and we don't, you know, retrade deals. We really pride ourselves in kind of doing what we say we're going to do, and I think our record speaks to that. We're good partners, we're fair, we're honest, we're transparent, and we're good neighbors. We want to be part of this community in particular, but we really take our professional reputation very seriously, and I think y'all know that. when residents, may bring something to your attention, a problem that they're having in our properties, your staff often reaches out to us. And I hope that you feel that we are very quick to resolve any resident issues that have arisen. Joellen, I touched on a bunch of things. What else would you like to add? What did I miss?
Well, one of the things that I would like to, that I think is important is we're very good listeners. We know that this, this program is in an established neighborhood, and we know you've gone through a very kind of in-depth engagement process with the community. We pay attention to that feedback as we do in every one of our projects. So we do listen. We continue to hold engagement process with the neighborhood and the like, so that we can have a very strong buy-in to the ultimate property that is going to be built on this site. So I think you'll find that from us. We're good listeners from the beginning to the end, as Janine was mentioning, when it relates to, after the project is up and running, and we are listening and learning and trying to improve at all levels.
All right, you have a little over a minute and a half to finish up, wrap up.
Okay. So just to kind of revisit some of the things that we talked about already, we deliver on our commitments to our partners, even when you consider initial proposal to what we put on the ground. It's one thing to kind of win these opportunities. It is a high bar. We're always really pleased when we win them. But that, of course, is step one on a very, very long process. We really pride ourselves in how we execute the deals that we're awarded. And one of the best compliments we've ever received was on the Talavera Lofts project from our master developer partner. They said, you know what, great project that you guys conceived, but the way that you executed it was outstanding. We've won a lot of awards for our design and our execution of projects, which is the icing on the cake for us. But we really, pride ourselves on high level of design and the ability to actually put projects on the ground. I think we're one of the most successful Austin developers within the affordable housing industry, and actually having a portfolio of private public partnerships to show people, not this is what we have on the boards, but this is what we've done in P3 developments, whether it's working with you all at HFC or working with Travis County up at Travis Flats, or, Cap Metro and Endeavor at Talavera Lofts.
Thank you.
Thank you. And moving to the second question.
Good afternoon. So for question number 2, what challenges do you anticipate encountering within the development process, and how are you prepared to address them?
Okay. So these real estate development is very challenging, as you all know. There are obstacles that you come across that you can predict, and those are one set of obstacles, and then there are obstacles that come up that you can't predict. But our approach is kind of just, it comes with the territory, and we handle each problem as it comes, and we come to solutions as we go through the process. With regard to this particular site, and quite frankly, any site that we look at in the city of Austin, and Joellen touched on it a little bit, we really appreciate the level of community engagement that y'all have already done, but we expect that once you select a developer, that community engagement will be ongoing. The city of Austin and its residents are quickly changing, as we all know. And because of one set of residents might have expressed a desire for the development to be something, that tends to change. So I think continuing the engagement process as we go through development is really important. And sometimes things can pop up that are unexpected that you need to address as more voices are heard. The other, challenge that I anticipate encountering on this particular site is just, it has nothing to do with this particular site, except that the 9% program is incredibly competitive and it's very score driven. And while this site does score fairly competitive under the 9% program, there's just so many other players in town. And as you all know, supportive housing has a 3-point advantage under the 9% program. So I would anticipate one of the big challenges would be, scoring competitively enough to secure a 4%. One of the benefits of this site is that it's a QCT, and quite frankly, that's what really jumped out at this site to me. Two things about this site jumped out to me. One, I visited it, and it's a lovely site. It's in a really lovely area that's surrounded by a lot of single family homes, that there's a huge pride of ownership in that neighborhood. Its location vis-a-vis Knuckles Crossing and Pleasant Valley is great. You want to see multifamily housing on those larger thoroughfares. And I think, Southeast Austin is kind of the next area that's really going to undergo intense gentrification. But, all those things being said, it's still, while I love the site and see a lot of opportunity there, if it doesn't compete for a 9, it's a QCT. And so it gives us a second bite at the apple with regards to the 4%, which was another reason I was really attracted to the site. It is very difficult getting financing right now. Market conditions are incredibly challenging with higher interest rates. Insurance premiums are higher. Rents are going up still in Austin, but they're going up at a slower rate than they were a couple years ago. And then, of course, construction costs. So to kind of summarize, I think there are some pretty significant market challenges right now within our market. But, I think the 9% program works really well and would work really well in the site in terms of best leveraging a tax credit to present a financing structure that could be successful despite the fact that interest rates are high and construction costs are high. So market conditions, ongoing community engagement, the competitiveness of the program, and then just normal, normal challenges that come with the high risk, high reward industry that we work in. Joellen?
I don't have too much more to add. I think, site development is something that's always a bit challenging with any site, working on that. But, we have great partners with long histories of folks we've worked with in the past, from architects to contractors to surveyors to, engineers. So we have a good team of potential teams that we can work with to address any site and development issues. So.
Right. Yeah, that's an excellent point. As we all know, getting site development permit in Austin is a lengthy process, and sometimes the length of that process alone takes us through an even rockier, it can take us through an even rockier period in terms of market conditions. One of the adages in our world is kind of time kills deals. And so, the quicker we can move forward to get all of our entitlements and site development permit in place, the better. I will say that, I know that the city is really trying to find a way to expedite the process, the SDP process for certain developments. I know that we're working in conjunction with the Safe Alliance right now on a supportive housing deal, and we're using the expedited process for that deal because it's supportive housing, and so far it's really worked effectively. And I really encourage you guys, or encourage us, to come up with a plan so that all affordable housing projects can benefit from that new expedited process. You
have about a minute to wrap up.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I have anything to add. Is it appropriate to move to the next question in case we need to go longer? Or are you really trying to fill up 7-minute blocks or what have you?
No, we can stop.
Okay. Yep, I think we covered everything there.
Thank you. Question 3.
All right, hello, and good afternoon. So 2 questions here. The first question is, what funding sources do you anticipate pursuing outside of tax credit and bond financing? And how will you minimize any RHDA gap financing requests? And the second question is, if a funding gap became present after an RHDA award, what steps would be taken?
Okay. Funding sources outside of tax credit and bond financing. And so just to kind of start at the top, we would obtain a private loan or, either a G4 loan or a Freddie enhanced or Fannie enhanced agency loan. Either 4% or 9% tax credits and equity generated from the sale of those tax credits. I would imagine we would need RHTA gap financing depending on where construction costs are at the time that we're ready to close. Additional sources that we would pursue if needed would be TDHCA National Housing NHTF National Housing Trust Funds, or any sort of direct loan funds that TDHCA would have that would be eligible in a participating jurisdiction. We could pursue AHFA Affordable Housing Program funds from the Federal Home Loan Bank. And then this site's also in an opportunity zone, and we do have experience investing our own funds in opportunity zones to get the benefits that come with that. I don't know that a lot of affordable housing developers have gotten into the opportunity zone investments, but we have, so we've got experience there. And then, whatever other, we're very accustomed to having very deep capital stacks. I mean, I think you guys know that in working with us. It's not unusual for DMA deals to have, anywhere between 4 and 6 sources of financing. So whatever's available, we will apply for it. That's kind of what we do. That's how we develop the high quality developments that you see around town. I mean, those aren't typical 9% developments that you would see, in exurban areas, for instance. To do something fairly high density with some ground floor civic or retail space, with some structured parking, what have you, it demands a different type of capital stack. And we are very well versed in using all of those funding sources that I mentioned. And if things keep on going the way they're going in the next couple of years, maybe there'll be a couple of other pots that we can also apply to. But we're pretty, you got to be really scrappy in this environment, and we're very scrappy. And so we will go after everything that we can to make these deals, fully funded. We really try to hold the bar high in design. We don't like to VE a lot of stuff. I'm moving to your second question, but of course, if we got every penny that we could and we were still short, we would look at VE. But we don't typically go there unless we have to. And some of the ways we kind of handle it is we'll kind of go to contract. We'll say, okay, let's price, this kind of cabinet, this kind of countertop, but let's reserve some contingency funds. So when we get in construction, we can do the upgrades to the original vision of the project that we initially had in mind. So, there's ways for us to massage things to kind of deliver the project that we promise to our partners without just kind of gutting it and taking out all the bells and whistles. In fact, we've never done that. I mean, I think our properties speak to that high quality. I mean, we don't bare bones things, and we don't do cookie cutter stuff. It's all very context sensitive. We really just want to do the right thing on the right site, like in the right neighborhood. What does that site demand in terms of the proper development? And then we just do whatever we can to deliver it.
And I'd like to add to, Janine, just sort of, to add to what you've talked about. We really, from start to finish, we're looking at ways to bring our project in on time and at budget. And so beginning there, it's really working with our design team, talking to them, giving them our parameters and our budget of where we need to be, and working with them to identify ways that we can get the quality, the quantity, the building that we need within our budget. And so that really helps to minimize any, additional cost coming in after, our financing stack has been identified. It does happen from time to time, construction cost, spike or something goes up depending on, things outside of our control. But really that is a step that we start with, is picking our team, trying to design within a budget that's feasible. So after that, then we take a look at some of the harder questions of doing some value engineering, as Janine said, is doing some options. Let's go with these cabinets. If we can, improve them later, we will.
1 minute to wrap up.
And be fluid throughout the design and development process.
1 minute.
Janine, do you want to say anything else or just kind of wrap it up there?
Yeah, I think we covered that one. I'm just trying to think outside of VE, what steps would be taken if a funding gap became present. I mean, I will say that we have such strong relationships with our lenders and investors that, in the past, I think Arbor Park's an example where, and a lot of developers were caught in this situation where, there wasn't enough money, paid developer fee in the deal to get the investor and lender comfortable, because they consider paid fee as kind of deal contingency that they can hold back if, the change orders quickly exceed the contingency of the deal. And so what we've done is we've left reimbursables in the deal to get the investor comfortable. We've closed deals with a really high level of deferred developer fee, which isn't ideal, but our investors allow us to do certain things that they don't allow other developers to do because of our reputation and our relationship with them.
Time's up. Thank you.
Thanks, Elle. Last question.
How will you build on the vision for this site? And what will be your first steps if awarded this development opportunity, included as it relates to community engagement?
Right. So yes, I think the key to building on the vision for this site is community engagement. I think the first thing we would do is meet with the neighbors. I mean, we take your lead, you as our partner, we take your lead on the logistics of soliciting more community engagement. But one idea I have is, let's meet at good night. Let's show people what we've done together as a team in the community. Let's bring relationships that we've already developed in Southeast Austin to that discussion. Let's, really talk about it some more. We spent a bunch of time, obviously reading the RFQ and all of the attachments. We understand the feedback from the community thus far in terms of the appropriate height of the building, no balconies facing the east, ingress and egress on the main roads as opposed to Village Square Drive. All of those things are really important. But that's tip of the iceberg stuff. So we'd like to get a little deeper in with the community engagement process, talk about, ground floor, that's really important. Are we looking at, what civic uses could be co-housed at the site? Retail, if there's retail, what are the needs? Is it, healthcare clinic? Is it, a bodega, something like that. So I think that would be our first step. And then really bringing our architect and contractor in early. Like Joellen said, we really kind of spend a lot of time on the visioning and the look and feel and the concept. So that we can get, everybody on the team, nodding their heads and yes, this is what we want to do. And then again, we take it back to the community and do more engagement. So, I think community engagement's the first step. Starting to design concepts that we can kick around, look and feel stuff. And then really just assessing our chances with regard to the 9% program, the 4% program, and all the strategy that comes along with that, whether it's, figuring out how you can dual track a 9 and a 4, looking at the bond lottery and that whole puzzle that is the Texas bond allocation process, and just kind of navigating all of those things. But, all of these things have to happen somewhat concurrently, but the most important thing in the city of Austin, and we all know this, is community engagement. Are we really hitting the mark in terms of what the community wants to see at this location? We read the MOU, we read the master agreement. I mean, those documents are very familiar to us. I think probably, DMA was one of the first private developers to kind of enter into similar agreements with you all. I understand that the terms have changed a little over the years, as well they should. We're fine with the terms. I don't expect a lengthy, negotiation process with you guys on a deal like this. This isn't kind of an economic development deal in downtown Austin. This is an AHFC deal pegged specifically for housing, and we all kind of know the drill. So I don't expect that really to be, obviously it's one of the first steps, but I don't think it's a critical step. I think we all know each other and we know what the deal is. And so we would really kind of prefer to focus on schematic design and getting feedback from the neighbors. Anything to add, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I think too, just kind of, again, it's relating to community engagement, holding a charrette, getting, figuring out what the outward look of the development will be to the street, to the school across the street, all of that. It's really, really important that we hit a home run with the community at this site because it's so visible and because it's nearby schools and the like. So, and then again, it's also understanding too is, we realize there's going to be a preference policy, for folks living at this site. So we want to make it feel like home again, to those folks that the city wants to return to that community. And, we realize that is an important step for the community. So again, we would hit the ground running, and we get the community engaged as early as possible.
1.5 minutes to wrap up.
Okay, so in closing, we just want to thank you all for the opportunity. I think we hit on all the main points. I hope we answered your questions. But we really, we love y'all at AHFC. We think the deals we've done together have been successful for both parties. And we would love the opportunity to work with you again on this site. It's a really nice site. And, while we talked about challenges, there are some things like having all the trees on the perimeter that make me really happy, as opposed to, dealing with a lot of heritage trees that we're really grappling with on some of our current sites. So there's a lot of positives here. And I also want to thank you all for the RFQ process. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you know, and having to respond to an RFQ instead of an RFP, while community engagement is underway. It makes a big difference. So we really appreciate the invitation to interview and be considered one of the finalists, and you know where to find us if you have any questions or concerns.
Thank you.
you very much.
All right, thanks everyone.
All right,
Have a
thank
good
you.
week. Bye.